So how does Kindom look? How do we start? How we start is we take one area of the property, whether it's 1,000 acres, whether it's 500 acres, whether it's 250 acres, whatever it is. We take one section, whether it's 10 acres, 20 acres, and we create what we call the mudroom. This is where we grow the main food forests, and this is where we build our community infrastructure. So we've got community eating areas, kitchens, and places. Everyone has their own place to sleep because everyone needs their own space, whether we're using tents or caravans or we've got cabins or whatever works. That's the start, and we work together. And part of the reason we have to work together is because we have to get through a lot of our system brainwashing, which is very emotionally based, and we have been taught to look out for number one, care for number one, what's in it for me. And we have also been taught to use other people as an excuse for our behavior all the time. Oh, but he said this, he did that, he made me feel this, he made me that. The mudroom is all about learning to take full responsibility for everything we think, feel and do. So we're no longer blaming other people for how we feel. We're no longer blaming other people for what we do. We're no longer the victim. Oh, I did this and you didn't do that, and I've been used and abused and this and this and that. Because when you come from full responsibility, everything you do is your choice. It's your choice, and you cannot turn around and blame somebody else for that choice. So if you decide to get up one day and you're really inspired to go work in the gardens and you do a 12-hour day in that garden, but somebody else only does a 6-hour day in that garden because of whatever reason, if you take full responsibility for your life, you never turn around and say, but I did 12 hours in the garden today and you only did 6 hours. Because you're responsible for the amount of time you spend in the garden. You're answerable only to you in that respect, and no one else is answerable to you for what they do either. So this is the sort of emotional brainwashing that we've all been subjected to, and that we pretty much all in the system operate out of. There's always an emotional undertone, there's always comparison, there's always not fair. I did this, he didn't do that, she didn't do this, and this is what we have to work away from. So we have to work closely in the beginning to let all this stuff come up and work through it and notice it and learn that we don't need to do that. If we take full responsibility for our lives, then what we do every day is our business, but we're there because we want to work for a community and because we want to grow food. So we get on and we do that job. But we're not answerable to anyone, and no one is answerable to us. And this is what we have found in our experience, the biggest hurdle to Kindom, which is why it's important we do start off working closely together, not only to get all the food grown that we all need as a community, but to address all this, the emotional issues, so we can become a strong community that stands strong and doesn't turn around and get into blame and flee the moment the going gets tough.
So how does Kindom look? It's about creativity of food forests, establishing the forests that we destroyed, that provide us with all the food, for all the nomadic tribes and all those who lived in villages and that. Creating natural abodes where we're going to have to recycle all the system garbage of fiction and use it for building. But we're not going to continue destroying and playing out fiction and living under money. So it's a transition without getting into creating more fires and getting into all the battles. So the idea of Kindom and Kindomains is that every family can have a hectare of the worst pieces of land, all the great pieces for everyone to enjoy, all the vantage spot, everything that has any benefit for the greater good of everyone, that is not touched. That's for everyone to enjoy. So it's creating food forests, century farming, producing magnificence, because with happy, bright thoughts, we're creating magnificence and extreme abundance. And when we create so much abundance of food, and we work with water and re-establishing waterways and harvesting water, we are restoring land. You have true freedom because you're not spoon-fed anymore. You don't need to go to the shops to buy everything. Sure, your diet will change. And the more we change our diet, so we no longer have to be dependent on spoon-fed diets that come from shops, which requires destruction through agriculture and animal husbandry that devastates such vast tracts of land, which has been going on for hundreds of years now. So we're going to end all this, because the whole idea is to live in local, where everyone in a motherland of local are making sure that everything that's needed for the greater good of that village or that tribe is there as a constant, as the sun that shines, or that magnificence, or that abundance. So we use the system, the gifts of fictional dollars, to build these kindomains, these motherlands. And then as everyone has everything in place to make sure we produce enough crops to feed horses all year round, the horses that we use for transporting around on the land, and the carts and all that, then because we're eventually going to walk away from all these technologies. We have to walk away from all this because we're just doing immense harm. And we don't want to keep digging away, and chipping away at life. We're supposed to be nurturing life and inspiring life.
When we all work with the good heart, we're doing what we need to do for the community. And that's the important thing. And then everything is taken care of. And if we're taking care of everybody, everybody's taking care of us. So we don't have to worry. We don't have to get into doubt and uncertainty and fear that we're going to be left out, that we're not going to be looked after, that we're not going to have enough, we're not going to have our share. All that sort of stuff has to go out of the window, basically. It has no place in Kindom.
So if you're sitting on $500,000 and you want to do something, pour it into these Kindom projects that we're doing. To set an example for others, to not be frightened of persecution, of invasion, of decimation by police and military or whatever. We are past the fear of loss and the fear of death. We live through the happy, bright thoughts to create motherlands where families working together can set each other free from living in slavery and being enslaved. And we can raise children up in nature again so they know what true freedom is without having to be explained to them about any freedom or consciousness or anything else. It's a natural thing that happens when you don't operate out of doubt and suspicion and fear and distrust and all that. We are built in with everything, the magnificence of life. Look at all of nature. Every moment we're breathing in air, we're breathing out. And it's come from this collective co-creation of nature working together that needs it all working together for us to have the air to breathe that gives us life. And that magnificence is what you see when you're walking through forests and walking across coastal shorelines and things, and notice the big beauty of life. Unharmed, unchained. And when you're amongst brothers and sisters who are unchained, who are truly free, that's freedom. That's true peace for everybody.
And so the mudroom is a really strong reminder for us all the time. And the mudroom is what connects out to the rest of the system. So while we're setting up, some of us will still work because we'll need to bring money in until we are self-sufficient, and we don't need to do that anymore. So some of us will still go out to work in the system and we'll be bringing in dollars, while some of us are working on the infrastructure, working on the gardens. It'll be a win-win situation. So those who go out into the system and work, sure, they're doing the hard work, bringing the dollars in, but while they're out there, the infrastructure is being built for them too. The food is grown for them too. So it's not really one's better than the other. It'll be what people are inspired to do and what makes the most practical sense for them to do. So, and the mudroom, when we move into our kin domains, we've got past all the emotional stuff and we have the freedom within our domains to create what we like, but we don't forget the mudroom. We don't forget the food forests that feed us all. We go out of the properties through the mudroom and come back through it. So we always remember our roots in the mudroom as the basis of Kindom, even as we then go and spread out into our kin domains for our families, where we can create exactly how we want. The most important thing about Kindom is the strength of the community, because that is everything. That is what keeps us strong. That is what keeps us safe. That is what provides us with everything we need. Without that strength in community, we have nothing.
So we have to establish everything at local levels until we break down the cities and the suburbs and all this, until people can recreate their motherlands amongst those they want to create their tribes with. So we're asking for you to support this. Pour your fictional dollars into this. We're not going to be charities. We're not registered foundations or trusts, because we're outside of all of this now. We're just going to use the fictional dollars while the system's still going to build all the infrastructure of the community hubs, what we call mudrooms, where everyone can learn how to live free again, where that to be inculcated and turned into slaves following the one in front, because this is not about following anybody. When we go the right way about all of this, none of us are remembered that way. We're not here to be put up on as ornaments on walls to be worshipped. We don't do this. The glory of life itself is more than enough. We should die peacefully, without nothing, no monuments, no nothing, all of us. We don't need to be remembered that way. It's already in life and we're alive, we haven't died.
We all know there's lots of problems out there. We can all see the wars, we can see the hunger, we can see the poverty, we can see the helplessness, the suicides, depression, sickness. It's everywhere, and frankly, it's not getting better, despite the good-hearted intentions of many to make a difference and to do something. We know there are people out there who genuinely want to do something about poverty, about homelessness, and we have come up with the solution. And it's not original to us. It's a solution that's actually original from many centuries ago, where people lived together in communities and they looked after each other and they provided for their communities.
As an inspiration, do you want to change the way you're living? Do you want to change this mess? Because all of you who work inside suburban systems, inside office blocks and buildings, you're operating and supporting rape, pillage and plunder, using and abusing brothers and sisters out there. You're relying on children who have to be kidnapped and put through an education system to be the fiction slaves that run the scripts of all the dead things, so that one can claim that they think they've got security and they've got power and that they've got material wealth and all these things. But it's a huge cost, a massive cost in running these rackets. And there are people who want global power, who want to have one world governments and all this. Let me show you, these people are gone. They're far beyond any possibility of being pulled back to normality, because it is only insanity and psychosis and sociopathy, all these deeply disturbed psychotic conditions that make people want to covet another man and use and abuse another man, downtrodden, treat them like doormats. So if you want to purge and change it, because everyone who works in the system is supporting this nightmare. And if we don't pull out of this, we reach a point where the whole of the civilization will be gone, and all of you caught up will be gone, and you won't even know that you're gone. So we build kingdoms, we build motherlands. That's all that matters. There is nothing else to do.
You do not have to come to Kindom with money, with fictional dollars. Kindom is not just for those who can buy in. It's not a buy-in scheme or any operating on any exclusivity or privilege like that. You can come with skills, or you can come with money, or you can come with just a willingness to learn and to work hard and to be part of a Kindom that works for taking care of everybody, and then you don't have to worry about taking care of yourself because everyone else is taking care of you as well. It's a change in the way we live, and it primarily is a change in our attitude to how we live, where we start living outwards like the sun for those around us, instead of living as we're taught in the system, living for ourselves, because we're told you've got to take care of yourself. No one else is going to, and it's true, no one else does in the system very much. So if you're left homeless, too bad. If you're left without food, too bad. Even though there are people who try and do something, the scale of the problem is just too large. So Kindom is about changing all that, whereas we're all responsible to make sure those around us have what they need. We're all responsible to make sure we help families grow their gardens, create their homes, look after their children, be the village that raises the child, rather than the children having to go off to daycare or school where strangers tell them what to do and how to think and how to feel. It's about getting back to being true communities where everyone in that community is a valued member. And if there's a problem in the community, we get together, we sort it out, we work it out. It's not about ostracization or removing the victim from the perpetrator so that nothing can be made whole again. This is the vital thing. So we're going to use the system currently. So anyone who wants to put money towards getting land, feel free. But it's not just about that. It's about anyone who wants to make a change in the way they live, who wants to change their attitude and walk away from the system to create motherland with others, where everyone is welcome if they are interested in doing that. And we work together as a community, and it is a refugee place as well for those who cannot live in the system but have nowhere else to go. Because if you don't want to live in the system currently, there is nowhere else you can go. Because you have to rent a house, or you have to buy some land, you have to have a land titles deed, you have to have a job, you have to have social security. You can't live in another way. So this Kindom is all about walking away from this and creating something different, where we actually work together and make sure that everyone is provided for.